The Orsanmichele Church and Museum is on one of the busiest thoroughfares in Florence, but it has a relatively unknown history. The building was constructed by the city's guilds in 1336 on the site of San Michele's monastery kitchen garden. It was originally a grain market, and you can still see today the piers that were used to move the grain between floors, as well as the slots through which the grain passed. From 1380 to 1404, it was converted into a church and used as a chapel for the craft and trade guilds. On the ground floor is the church, which contains Andrea Orcagna's jewel-like tabernacle of a Madonna and Child by Bernardo Daddi, a pupil of Giotto. Today, Orsanmichele has gone through some transformations, and it now boasts a new entrance behind Orcagna's tabernacle. Previously, the ticket office was outside the church, and it's now been moved inside, and the back of the Orcagna's tabernacle with its intricate and exquisite carving can be admired for the first time.
I think that one of the things I'm most proud of after my Florence staying is to have given back to the city of Florence the possibility to view the Tabernacle by Andrea Orcagna in its full glory. Last December we opened again to the public the access from Via dei Calzaiuoli and showing the beautiful Dormitio Virgin and her Assumption, which is probably the most important relief in European Gothic sculpture. And what is also my aim is that the church and the museum go back in the daily life, not only of tourists, but of people. It's true that there is a mass celebration and the church is consecrated, but it's such an important piece of the history and art of Florence that I hope that really, as the famous mayor of Florence, Pietro Bargellini, stated, Orsanmichele is the heart of Florence.
On the curtain wall of the oratory, Mariotto di Nardo painted a fresco of St. Anne, the unknown patron saint of Florence. Ask any Florentine and they will tell you that the patron saint of the city is St. John the Baptist, or San Giovanni, for whom every June an elaborate display of fireworks is put on to great pomp and effect. In this fresco, however, Anne is shown holding the city of Florence in her arms. Most saints are portrayed in their moment of martyrdom, and it is most unusual to see one clutching a city to their torso. But why was she chosen as the patron saint of Florence? On the 26th of July, 1343, St. Anne's feast day, Florence escaped the foreign rule of Walter VI, Count of Brinn and Duke of Athens, and so associated the saint with the city's freedom. For centuries, the saint's day was celebrated, and she was adopted by the Medici as the patron of their dynasty. The Counter-Reformation meant that her role evolved into being seen as the mother of the Virgin Mary, and her connection to Florence's freedom was forgotten about. More recently, the city has re-established the celebrations on the 26th of July, and now there's a procession that takes place outside the church on said day. In the 14th century, the city of Florence had each guild fill the 14 exterior niches with a freestanding statue of its respective patron saint. Each guild tried to outdo each other by commissioning sculptures from important artists like Donatello, Ghiberti, Giambologna and Verrocchio. Ghiberti's St. John the Baptist of 1414 was the first life-size bronze cast in the Renaissance. The originals have since been removed from the exterior and placed either in the internal museum on the first floor of the complex or in museums around the city, like Donatello's St. Louis of Toulouse in the Opera di Santo Croce and St. John the Evangelist by the School of Orcagna, which is now in the Spedale Innocenti Museum.
The Bargello, as you know, is the most important collection of Italian sculpture worldwide. And having added to it the Church and Museum of Orsanmichele, it's almost like completed the best cake with a cherry on top, because all these statues are the most important statues produced in the 14th and 15th century and the 16th century. And you can see the changes that happen from Ghiberti, Donatello, Nanni di Banco. It's a real rivalry that here you can witness with your own eye. And then when you go to the Bargello, you see the second part of this artist's production. So you see Ghiberti in relief at the Bargello with the two famous formelle for the concorso. Here you see Ghiberti in statue, you see Donatello in his young San Mark, and then you go to the Bargello and you find St. George, which is the only statue that it's missing from this, which has been rightly defined the Atlas of Italian Renaissance sculpture, because in 1891 was brought to the Bargello and stayed there. We received funding from the ministry to carry out capital projects and improve the access to Orsanmichele for disabled, and to make this even more part of the daily life in Florence. So we are working on a project that we hope we'll be able to put in place by the end of the 2020, so that at the end of this campaign of major works and conservation and study of the statues, this museum and the church can be open more frequently and be even more embedded in the Musei del Bargello daily visitors, as well as the city life, because it's a unique view on the city of Florence. And if you go up on the second floor, you probably see one of the best panoramas of the city from a very unique perspective.
The church is open every day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The Sculpture Museum on the second floor is open every Monday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday morning until 12:30 p.m.